Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Okay, my friends, once again, it is indeed time to get our talk on. It's Morning Talk with me, your host, J. Stan McCauley, along with the champions of talk. And, of course, this morning we have talk champion Cleo Duke-Wright in Studio 1A. Good morning there, Miss Cleo. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing pretty well this morning.
Wow. So, how was your week?
Well, my week was pretty good. Busy as usual, but you know, I had time with friends and you know, did some things that I didn't have time to do the week before, so it was pretty good. Took my husband out. He loved that. Went riding and visiting people and out to dinner, and so it was a good week.
All right. Well, good week. All right. Well, it's been a while. It seems like it's been a long time since we've been here.
Yes, it seemed that way to me. That's why I called last night. I said, well, I wonder if I'm gonna do the show today. And I was over some friend's house, and all of a sudden I thought of the program. I said, oh, I don't even know if I'm going to. So I picked up the phone and gave you a call, and I was so glad I got the good news.
Yeah. We're back. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that we should go back to remember when we used to do, I think it was 11 weeks on, 2 weeks off. 11 weeks on.
Oh, yeah. 2 weeks off. Yeah. I remember that. That's been a long time ago.
That was a while back. 11 on and 2 weeks off. That gave you kind of like a little break. You can anticipate a break.
You realized last week when you weren't feeling so well that, hey, maybe I need a break, every so often. Right.
Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe we'll go back to that, where 11 on, 2 off, 11 on, 2 off. That way the break is built in, as opposed to you just keep going until you can't go no more.
Until you just kind of drop. Well, yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's a good idea for Saturday to have every once in a while just to.
Oh, well, there's a vote coming tomorrow.
To have every once in a while have a break. You know, the breaks, it used to be, the breaks used to come because
holidays.
How the president couldn't be there, or there was nobody to open the building, or we always had a break somewhere.
Right.
You know, periodically, there were always breaks, but they weren't planned breaks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you go through the summer, and then something would happen, and then there would be a break. It wasn't just always straight through.
Well,
although when you think about it and you talk about it, it is a little ridiculous, but that you never have a break. I mean, it is ridiculous, and but we did have breaks.
Well, they were kind of built in now that you mentioned it. But they were like unscheduled breaks. She's referring to the African American Alliance, which meets, of course, every Saturday. We have 52 meetings a year. It's unheard of.
And we've been doing this for what, 20 some odd years, more than almost 30 years.
Yeah.
That we've been doing that, and
so I think there's a desire that I have heard expressed that we do, like city council and board of education. We don't take the whole summer off, but we reduce to like once a month. So like June, July, and August. The first Saturday of the month, and the rest of the month is off. And you just meet once a month for those 3 summer months, And then we go back to the weekly meeting.
Because, it's different now. We meet through Zoom. It was always a meeting with a social component to it. Mm-hmm. You eat breakfast, you talk after, you communicate. There was always a social, and now that social part of it is gone. And it was a really big part of the African American Alliance. Mm-hmm. The social part. Matter of fact, we have the after meeting, but before we went and ordered breakfast and
folk went out before the meeting, and then they went out after the meeting.
And ate and talked and planned different things. So it wasn't just going to the meeting.
Mm-hmm. And the meeting, now I've done an analysis. I've kind of like looked at this, and it seemed to me that the meeting itself was the biggest part of the social. The meeting was more of a social event than it was a business meeting.
Absolutely right.
And that and the lead up to it was, people would get together because everyone didn't get together for lunch. I mean, for breakfast.
Right. Well, and they ate during. They ordered
folk
during.
They ate during, and they read the paper
before,
and folk chime in.
After.
It was
it was just
like a breakfast club.
It was like a breakfast, and it was and anybody could come. It was a very emotional time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't structured like it is structured now. Mm-hmm. It was just so emotional, and it was so much fun.
Folk like high drama. Fun. It's like being in a barber shop / beauty salon with on steroids.
Oh yeah, and people would just run in the door and say, "I need help! I need help!" And and it was just wonderful. And you met different types of people, and you met great people. The old members talk about Dick Days. I mean, who came in from New York, I think he was a union person. I mean, he just put so much wisdom into the African American Alliance. And then when we met Henry, and then when we met Reverend, he just passed away.
Nora Wyatt. Oh my goodness, that was another exciting time in life of the African American Alliance. And we had a president one time. They said that's not part of Robert's Rules of Order, and the president said, Robert don't pay no dues here. So he went on and he did what he wanted to do, and it was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And more it got kind of more and more structured, and the thing is, the community stopped coming. We kind of lost that community connection as we got older. It became more of a political thing, which they never wanted to be in the first place. But it became that more. Well, I think eventually, unfortunately or fortunately, a lot of groups do become more as they mature. They become more political. Because at the end of the day, in order to get things done in the community, those are all political decisions. So people can be in their emotions, and all in their emotions, but at the end of the day, that's all it is. And you get the "I told them" kind of feeling when you leave, or folk talk about, well, now that I gave them a piece of my mind, but that doesn't get anything done. So you have to do.
I don't know whether we wanted to get anything particularly done. We just wanted to give out. It was just to give
information sharing.
Information sharing, but the big thing about it was there were people there from many different organizations that held many different positions. So it was like the politicians wanted to be there, because these were the people who know the people who voted.
Right.
So the politicians came, and then the people came, and.
But what I'm suggesting is it's not sustainable. It's not eternally sustainable because certain politicians will no longer be in office.
Right.
So they're not going to come. Or the community that's coming because they have a need, once their need is met, then they don't come. And the drama wanes. And ultimately, still, folk are coming because they need something to get done. And you take on bigger projects like the MDC. And, it becomes more of then you make commitment to that. And then, yeah.
People get into their own little niche.
That's inevitable.
And people follow them, and they have their set of what they want to do, their bottom line, and what they're trying to do, which doesn't necessarily mean everybody else knows that,
or that everyone else agrees,
or everyone else agrees. But you're gonna push. I have not been able to. I have an idea of what,
and then
honesty and integrity in all of those things that I grew up with, and were taught what that means, and so I kind of shy away from things or people who I think don't have those things.
But see, when you have a group in the community that provides an opportunity for people to share information, I think there's a certain amount of given that folk don't agree, nor do they have the same moral standard, ethical standard.
Right.
And I think that people tend to kind of flock together, birds of a feather, so to speak, flock together. People with common interests flock together. People may not like one another, but they have a particular interest. So now they have a shared interest. But with all that emotion, you're going to get some, it's like a church. That's what, everyone in the church pretty much agrees. They all agree on something, otherwise they wouldn't be members of the same church. But there's faction after faction after faction. There's the choir. They're the choir specialists because, they always get to sing the solo. And so-and-so's a favorite of the director. And then the pastor favorite. And they on the pastor's committee. And then, the deacon said this. And, everyone's... It doesn't matter whether it's a police department, a doctor's, a hospital. It doesn't matter. You're always going to have these little groups that emerge because people start looking for like-minded and nourishment of type. And then you have the romanticism of the way it used to be, which becomes inevitable.
My comfort zone is being rocked. They're taking away my comfort zone.
Right.
They're taking,
or outsiders. Well, just because they didn't, guess who knew in town? It's. But this is life. But when you have these meetings for 30 years every Saturday, it's good to take off a couple. So the idea was mentioned that we should take off the summer, meet once a week. But of course, that's up to the membership.
I that's very strange. I can't imagine it, but times have changed.
Yeah, and remember, I'm 62, and I remember when I am still one of the younger people.
Still. Did you go to Hal's too? Did you meet at Hal's? Did you go to meetings at Hal's?
I joined the Alliance at Hal's.
At Hal's?
In 2006.
Were we still at Hal's in 2006?
Yes. Because the first time I came down there was when I was running for mayor against Eddie Perez, and I spoke behind the bar, and Clark King was the president. And Michelle Brown invited me to come and speak.
Oh.
And that was at House.
Those people are not there anymore.
No,
so
neither one of them.
neither one of them are they're both gone. So
Big Days was sitting up the back. He's gone.
Oh.
So when that's what I'm saying. It seems like yesterday, but in 2007, I was 46 years old. I'm 62 now. It seems like yesterday, but a lot of things have happened since then, through then. And so it isn't what it used to be. It is what it is.
The alliance isn't a group that one or two people can constantly manipulate.
But that's any group. That's not just the alliance. That's.
But it does not seem like there'd be one person or two people who would manipulate the whole group all the time.
Let's take this call. We have a caller coming in here.
You may start the conversation now.
Hello. Michael, you there? Michael, can you hear me?
I am here. I can hear you, Stan. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Joining us by phone is Michael Leibowitz. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm doing fantastic, Stan. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. You're here on the morning show with Cleo Duke-Wright. And so we were anticipating your call. Now, for those that are just joining us, it seems like a semi little of an odd abruption because we were anticipating that Mike was going to call, and I forgot to mention that he was going to call because Cleo and I got caught up talking about something.
I forgot almost,
But it's good to have you here this morning, Michael. Now, for those people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself real quick.
Well, I'm incarcerated, and I've been incarcerated for 25 years. I came to prison when I was 21 years old, and a few years ago, I co-authored a book called Down the Rabbit Hole, How the Culture of Corrections Encourages Crime. And in that book, we deconstructed the prison system and pointed out all the ways in which it fails the public it's supposed to be serving. Subsequent to that, I ended up with a regular spot on the Todd Feinberg show on WTIC, and that's where I met you. And now here I am.
Well, it's good to have you here. And a couple weeks ago now, I had the opportunity to meet Michael. I didn't meet him. I saw him for the first time. We didn't get, no one that was there got a chance to just go, hey, Michael, how you doing? But you could see him. Mm-hmm. And likewise, he could see us. But we were up in Rockville, I think. Vernon? Vernon?
Rockville, yes.
Yeah. And at a courthouse where there was a hearing, and a judge was hearing Michael in his plea and his desire to be released early. And the good news on that is that the judge ruled in your favor.
Yes, she did. Stopped out 4 months.
So
and that's actually what I wanted to talk to you about, Stan, was my hearing.
Say that one more time.
So,
it was a little difficult to hear you.
Okay, I wanted to discuss my hearing with you, specifically the remarks that the prosecutor made in arguing against it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the prosecutor prosecutor, as you know, was opposed to the judge reducing my sentence. And while arguing against me, conceded that I had done more than any prisoner he had ever seen to reform myself. He then made a comment that it wasn't about me, it was about the system, presumably meaning that people should have to serve their entire sentences regardless of how good they do, so he was defending the system.
Mm-hmm.
My argument would be, and I didn't make it that day because I had to pick my battles, but my argument would be that in order to protect the system, they should have released me, should have reduced my sentence. And the reason that is, Dan, is because the correction system is not merely to punish and incapacitate offenders, it's also to rehabilitate offenders. Now, and to deter offenders. Now, part of the argument for corrections is that when one person is punished for crime, other people are deterred from committing crimes. So if that's the case, I would argue this, that in my 25 years of incarceration, many people have seen the transformation I've undergone. They've seen the effort that I've put in to change myself. And if the argument is people can be deterred by seeing somebody be punished, then it seems to me that people could be inspired by seeing somebody rewarded for doing right. So if inmates, other prisoners see that I'm rewarded for doing right, then perhaps they'll be inspired to do right themselves. Whereas if they see that doing right bears no fruit, then what would be the point? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that would be my argument, Stan.
Is that we need to reform, when we want to reform offenders, we need to reform those offenders that are actually making strides to improve themselves, getting education, changing their thinking process, and making clear demonstrations that they're ready for society.
Okay. We can hear you, Michael, but it's a challenge. From time to time, you're really clear, and then other times, it's for whatever reason, it's a little bit slurred. It sounds like a digital type of thing. But so your argument, I believe, is a sound one. But the system doesn't seem as though it is trying to reform anybody. It's just like a holding cell. They're not trying to. It doesn't seem as though they're trying to even encourage people to change.
No, the prison system doesn't.
And that's part of the problem is there's no real way for anybody to know who's changing because the rules of enforcement here, programming isn't very good, and they're not really keeping tabs on offenders. Now, in my particular case, I was fortunate enough to break out sort of the mold by going on shows like that Feinberg show and your show and getting to know former state senator Lynn Sucio. So I was able to pack a court with people to support me, but not everybody has that option. So somebody that's reforming themselves will really have a difficult time proving it, or somebody that hasn't reformed themselves could put forth an argument that they have. And just to clarify exactly what I mean, so my former cellmate, best friend and co-op, Brett McCauley, received a 45-year state sentence for shooting a police officer in 1996, I believe. He has done more than anybody I've ever seen to alter his character and conduct. He has become a good human being.
Mm-hmm.
He was denied parole a couple of years ago simply because of who his victim was. The victim was a cop. Now, a question that I would ask is why is it that somebody shoots a black kid in Hartford, he is liable to get maybe a 2 or 3 year sentence, but if you shoot a police officer, you get a 45-year sentence with no parole? Similarly, the state has recently been releasing a lot of people who are in prison for murder, who haven't done the type of work that Brett McCauley's done. Now, Brett McCauley committed murder, but he's not being released yet anyway. And it just seems to be there's a fundamental unfairness and injustice taking place in our system.
I would agree with you. Once again, though, it's hard to. I don't know if the audience can hear you. Can you hear him?
I don't know what he's saying.
It's hard to hear you, Michael. And so.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know why. When you start off, it's really nice, sharp, clear, and then it goes into a slurring. So I don't know whether it's the device you're using or whatever, but it is.
It must be.
Yeah, like I can hear you say it must be real fine. Well, there will be many more opportunities to talk to you in the next couple of months because you will be out, and then we can have a much more clear conversation as we explore and unpack some of the stuff that you have written about and some of the stuff that you're trying to bring light to within the correction system. What are your plans for once your release date comes?
Well, initially, I'm going to live with my friend, and I'm going to perhaps work for him or get another minimum wage job. But my long-term plan is to go into podcasting or hosting a radio show similar to what you're doing and what Pat Feinberg does. That is my long-term goal. But in the meantime, I will take any type of employment that I can get.
All right. Well, your long-term plan shouldn't take as much time as you may think. That you have a compelling subject matter, and the technology to get it done is readily available. The thing it needs more than anything is the desire and the drive, which you clearly have. So I can see you having an extremely productive and popular voice when it comes to broadcasting, and that shouldn't take you as long as you may think. I'll put that more on my semi-short term. I make that more of a shorter term goal than a long term goal.
Okay, I'll be your advice. Thank you very much for having me. Sorry for the connection. It's state appointment after all that music.
Well, we'll do this again sooner than later before you get out. So we'll stay in touch and stay up to speed as to what's happening, and we'll figure out this technical thing before then.
You have a great day.
Okay, you too, and congratulations once again.
The caller has hung up.
Okay, yeah, it's unfortunate that we couldn't.
What was the gist of his comments?
His comments were that the point he was trying to make was the comments that the prosecutor was making, saying that the system would be hindered or harmed by him being released early.
That's what the prosecutor said.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And there was an opportunity for him to try and gain early, some time off of his time earlier on. And the prosecutor was saying, well, he's already had that opportunity, and it was determined that he should not be let, shouldn't get any more reduced time other than what he's already had. So he is serving 25 years, and he had, I think they reduced it. It was more than 25, but it had been reduced down to 25.
Oh.
And the judge, it's unfortunate that there was no video, but I'm sure there was transcripts because they were taking transcripts and everything. It was very, very interesting to sit in the courtroom and to hear the testimony of people who were speaking on his behalf. But one of the most interesting testimonies on his character was that of the prosecutor. Who had said that in his entire career he's never seen anybody present themselves as a candidate that has so reformed in his time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just very, very interesting. But to Michael's point, Michael is saying, look, if corrections is there to correct, what incentive do you give people who are incarcerated to reform? If you take away every incentive, then why should they try to get better? Why should they try to be better human beings? The whole purpose of corrections is to correct. Not, there's a certain punitive side, but, the penalty is the penalty. But is it just, are we as a society just want to punish people, or are we trying to correct and give them a second chance?
Oh, I don't think we're trying to give a second chance.
Well, that would seemingly be the case.
We're trying to do that.
No,
we're not trying to give anybody.
We want to punish people.
We punish. Period.
Right.
That's a sentence. We punish. Period.
So even if you should repent, change direction, change heart, the penalty must be served henceforth forevermore, and you're now marked as that human being. I personally have always thought that time served should be time served, not in the sense that if you got 10 years, you have to do 10 years. What I'm saying is once your sentence is served, that's it. You release, you get all your paper, all your everything. It's your like a mortgage, and you can burn it if you want. You can put it in a picture frame. It's up to you. But it's like a mortgage. Once the debt is paid to society, then it's paid in full.
No, you pay for the rest of your life when you go to prison. You don't just pay those years. My God, you get out and there's a problem getting a job. There's a lot of problem in where you live.
It's a perpetual eternal punishment.
It's right.
The society does not forgive you.
And it could be something. I mean, people still being punished for something they did as teenagers, and now they're 50 years old.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Right.
It's ridiculous. So, but that's the way this society kind of works. Oh, you're a felon. I can't. No, I'm not giving you a chance. But I did that when I was a teenager. Well, so then you got to spend a lot of money getting it erased from your record, so it won't show up anymore. So you have at least a halfway decent chance of making a living.
It's very, very difficult.
And it's much easier to stay the way you are, make your money under the table, and because you're not punished for that, you can go right back and do that.
Well, there's a disincentive to do the right thing because doing the right thing brings no reward. In fact, doing the right thing brings you a negative consequence. And that is reinforced from the day you get in prison until you die, just about. So it's a scarlet letter, permanent mark on one's life. But we are not the sum total of our mistakes.
No.
We should not be defined by the one thing we did wrong. But that's what people like to do. They like to find the singular worst thing about you and focus on that.
It's people or it's the system. I don't think it's.
Well, the system is people.
Yeah, but I don't think it's people. If you go out and ask, randomly just go out and ask people, I don't think that they'll say they want someone punished for the rest of their life. I don't think that we really have that mindset. But I think as a machine we do.
As humans as a machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a machine.
As a collective.
Yes, we do.
As a collective we do. As individuals we may not. But our society reflects the will of the whole. Ultimately.
So that means punished forever. That right then a picture came in my mind of hundreds of people, including children, standing around watching someone be hung. and then, not one of those people out there would actually hang someone by themselves, but collectively they all rush. I just read maybe a month or so ago how these people were running and getting excited, and the kids were running to this hanging because someone was going to be hung, and a crowd of people stood excitedly to watch someone be hanged. And that's what that picture came to my mind when you were talking.
There was it was in a paper. It was in France. Italy. It was Italy. It was Italy. Yeah. A guy from Africa, a merchant, selling wares on the street. The reason he was selling wares is because he was horribly injured in a bicycle accident. And as such, he was peddling his wares. And he was saying something to the guy's wife, but he was selling like glasses or some little trinkets on the street. Anyhow, I think he commented to her that the glasses would make her really look nice or whatever. They would look nice on her, one of those kinds of things. So the guy got offended. He beat the man to death. And everybody stood around and watched. We have the Floyd situation.
Mm-hmm.
Where everyone stood around and watched. Yeah, I don't know if the anger is more toward ourselves for standing and watching.
And for the police that were actually doing it.
The collective rage and anger might, some of it be, dude as wrong as can be. But a lot of times it's a little misdirected. How much of that is us mad at our own self for standing there and watching and doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes on over and over and over again in all kinds of situations where society watches someone get attacked horribly. I was watching, there's a Netflix documentary called Trainwreck. It's about Woodstock, 1999, the second Woodstock,
mm-hmm.
and how horribly wrong it went by the end. It just descended. Just horrible. I'm literally women being raped in the open. You get 250,000 people in a crowd, in the heat, with no rules, no security, just
going up to Woodstock to hear the music. And
they went to hear the music, but of course these things have a way of getting out of hand quickly, and once they do, it's just free for all. But the thing is that the way human beings were treating one another and folk watching as all of this stuff unfolds, it's just madness. And society is so close to this kind of thing. So, how much, like individuals, as individuals, we in theory wouldn't do anything about that. But, there are those people who, if they see something happening, they might go get the police or they'll watch, but they won't
act.
They won't act to help give aid.
But then we have those people who did jump in and act, and now they're not here anymore.
Right? You have people who right
who jump in to stop some altercation,
mm-hmm.
and they themselves get killed.
Yep. So
those are the chances that you take when you jump in.
And it gets back to what you were saying a little earlier before the phone call. about what our expectations are in terms of how people act. You know, one person could take over a whole group.
Yes.
Because groups have a tendency to look for leader. Someone could lead them. And it generally don't take a whole lot of folk to lead. It just really only takes one alpha individual to kind of emerge. And if their intention isn't good, the group will follow them off the edge of the cliff.
So after you've seen that a couple of times, and you say, "Oh, I don't want to be part of that," then you have the dilemma: what do I want to be part of, and what will I do to make a difference, or can I make a difference? Do I have to deal with this leader who I don't think has the intentions that I would have? I can't say right or wrong intentions. I say the intentions that it would be against me to follow a particular leader. So you're not following this person. You're not following. You've learned about that, and you learned about this. So now you're out there. What are you going to do? Are you going to be just another person who stands by all the time because you don't want to be part of something? So
you have to speak up.
You gotta. I was reading about that this week, and it said, I was reading about prayer, and it says, open your mouth. You know, silent prayer is always about open your mouth, yell, open your mouth. Do you know I found that very difficult? I found it very difficult. Open your mouth. Scream. Just scream. Open your mouth. Say something. Tell your feelings. Tell God how you feeling. Tell him in a powerful way. Tell him, you know. And I was saying, my goodness, scream. And I was by myself in a room. I could have screamed as loud as I wanted to. Yet I found it very difficult to scream. Emotionally, I could. You know, if I get emotional, I can scream like the best of them. But to scream intentionally, to and be there in the here and now and scream and just say what you think and talk to God or and it was someone else. If I was talking to you, can you do that? Because if you're gonna make a difference, you gotta open your mouth. and you have to be loud, and you have to be intentional. And so I'm practicing this week, you know, because I like to sit quietly. You know, it's comfortable, but who said you're supposed to be comfortable? Get off your behind and do something. Stand up, walk around, just do something.
Well, I think that's...
And keep on doing it until something pops in. Just keep on keeping on. You know, don't always do things in a comfortable way. That's kind of how I got out of it. But I found it difficult.
It is difficult, unfortunately. But you have to push through. You know, a lot of people don't want to feel uncomfortable. They don't like feeling uncomfortable. They want to feel praised, encouraged, nurtured, comforted. They want to feel like they belong, you know. So folk go out of their way to accomplish those things. But, you know, when you're talking about things where people disagree, it is uncomfortable. But that's where that begins, you know. And my wife has a saying. I have to give her the credit for this. Well, Yes and no. We'll share the credit, but it really isn't ours. It's actually from the latest Matrix installment. And so as we were talking, we come to the idea that disagreement is noise. You know, if everyone in the conversation agrees, then you're in a silo. So to me, a silo conversation is a waste of time. We never have to have a debate or discussion about the things we agree about. We agree on. I mean, why are we wasting time talking about how much we like pound cake? You know, other than perhaps as conversation. But people don't want to have the uncomfortable conversation, because then the uncomfortable conversation is noise. It's noise. So when everyone is in agreement, we call it a choir. Everyone is singing the same song in a different key, but everybody's getting along and everybody's singing the same song. It's the person who's out of key that throws everything off. That stops everything. What are you doing? You're not in key. Well, I wanted to sing it this way. You can't sing it that way. This is how the song goes. Now, everyone's trying to get them to come along. That's where you have noise. So how do we get people to be in concert with one another who are from different silos? And those are uncomfortable conversations. And we want to be comfortable. And we bristle against the uncomfortable conversations. And so I think that the height of that is the cancel culture. Because you don't agree, we're going to cancel you, eliminate you, silence you, put you in jail, prison, kill you.
But that's in in a lot of things.
It's almost in everything
because
now.
I've been canceled several times. Just cancel, just go about your business, just canceled out. And you don't even know that. They just canceled you out,
mm-hmm.
And that happens a lot. And what did you say? It happens all the time.
It's unfortunate. Dr. Bowen says here, in general, people are now numb. Their senses are dulled due to all the extreme violence and chaos shown on our technology. They are more interested in being entertained. Far too many fall into the category of being bystanders. I don't know that we're as violent as we've ever been. I think we like to think that we've been a lot more violent than we are
right now. Yes.
A lot more violent.
And you can go back. It even gets worse.
Yeah. It
even gets worse. We're what I want to say, domesticated.
Oh yeah, we're domesticated. We are very domesticated. Human beings are very domesticated.
Very domesticated.
Mm-hmm.
So there's certain things. There are things that sometimes you want to say, but you don't say, and then you wish you had said what you thought later. I try not to do that anymore. I try to just say it. Just say what you're thinking.
I think it's better to say it.
Just say what you're thinking.
And then work out the disruption from having said it. And I think that condition, that space is the space I think is the most productive. I don't like the idea and the notion of, well, we need a safe space where we can all agree on what we believe.
That's dangerous. That sounds very dangerous.
I think it's very. Now, wait a minute. What? The safe space where we all agree, or setting the space where folk disagree?
Setting a space where we all agree. And we're human beings, so all of us are not going to agree, but we can pretend to agree. We can say we agree, but I don't believe everybody in a situation totally agrees. And maybe that's me, because I have been in situations where I thought that, why am I thinking differently? Why am I not agreeing with these people? Is there something wrong with me? Everybody seems to agree that such and such and such and such happened, so or such and such should be this way. Why am I feeling like I disagree? So I will agree. I'll go along with it, and I'll agree up to a point. But you can't. I can't sustain it. If I really disagree, it's not sustainable, because I'm going to blow up one day and just tell them how it is. But really, what I was really trying to do was to agree. I want to agree with you, but something inside me says I can't.
Well, see, I think that there needs to be room for respectful disagreement. Okay, so what? Because once I understand that that's how you feel, I'm good. I don't have to agree with folk, and folk absolutely don't have to agree with me. And that doesn't bother me in the slightest. To me, it's no different than ordering something different off the menu.
Well, this minister said that's the. I was at a Bible study maybe 2 weeks ago, and he put the difference between political and the church is that politically you really can't disagree when your party and stay in the group, but in a church, he said you should be able to disagree and still be in the church and still.
Now that's an interesting concept.
Have that community, and you disagree.
Well, see, those are.
He said that was the political difference between a church.
Okay, so that's interesting concept. That works only because we're not talking about real disagreement. Because the political discourse allows for the greatest flexibility of disagreement, because you can totally disagree, and there's a means by which you can debate the issue. Within the context of the church, there's very little room for disagreement when it comes to doctrine. The doctrine is the doctrine is the doctrine. It's not subject to change or personal opinion.
But see, I don't think he was talking about.
That's right. That's why I just wanted to make sure, because
I
think he's talking about
doctrine.
Among the congregants that make up the body, you should be able to discuss your little disagreements and move on, because our disagreement isn't in what we ultimately believe and accept.
Because the doctrine it's really not.
That's not the point of that's not the source of the disagreement.
And it's not with the congregants usually. The doctrine is up here someplace, and those people who are in charge of things and who are paying attention to doctrine and strictly go by doctrine to run the churches, and going by biblically and teaching the congregants. Right. So they're not in that same mainstream, because they're basically being taught more than they are looking at doctrine. It's like very difficult in a lot of churches right now is homosexuality.
Open and affirming.
So there are many older ministers who have been in the ministry years who are now retiring because they don't want to deal with it.
Well, that's an interesting.
That aspect. They don't want to give their opinion. They just want out of here.
That's a great example. That's a very, very good example of a very tough issue that requires conversation and understanding. that you made reference to. So what they do is they keep the mouth shut and move on. They self-silence. They self-cancel because they don't want to deal with the uncomfortable inconvenience of a disconnect between what is popular and what is written. And so,
because they actually have no choice. They have no choice.
They could take a stand.
They could take a stand, but
they want to be liked.
So, Scripture doesn't change.
Scripture absolutely does not change.
And so they don't want to face that, and they don't want to face that. So they retire. So a lot of ministers are retiring because
that's a little bit cowardly, brother.
Yeah,
it's cowardly.
I was
cowardly.
I was talking to a minister several months ago, and they said, and they're short of ministers. They're very short of ministers.
Well, that's they're short of people who are willing to toe the new party line. The caller here, our viewer says, man's preferences in politics and otherwise versus God's everlasting unchanging word are different. The standards in general society are not aligned with God's standards. See, the North Star is always the North Star. We're not going to rename it, call it something different because it's convenient, and we don't want to call it the North Star anymore because this signifies this, that, and the third. No, the North Star is in a point that's fixed in the sky, and you can navigate the world by the position of the stars. So they're set there for our benefit. The word is at variance with what is currently popular in society. So they abandon the discussion because the new wave of people coming along have embraced something that the scriptures say is incorrect.
So I'm going to make this book disappear, and I'm going to put it under here because we're not going to talk about this book or what's in this book or what's in the scriptures, because we're going to go in a different way. And I'm always telling my son, the law, scripture is scripture, period. It's not changing. So if you want to go over here and do this, that, and the other thing that may change tomorrow, you go ahead and do that. But you remember, over here is solid. Over there, it's gonna change and it's shaky. So what are you gonna do? And I'm always saying, what are you gonna do? You either listen to God, or you listen to the scriptures, or because he gets upset. We get upset, just like what did they just change? Wade versus, that they just overturned.
Roe v. Wade?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I said they can overturn that and they can make it back. They could overturn it again tomorrow and make it solid. Then they can do this and they can do that. It's going to change all over the place. But when God makes a decision, it's a decision.
Right.
Period. It's a decision. It's not like man's decisions where this is wonderful today and then 10 years down the line we find out it's killing us, or it's causing this and it's causing that. We're going to change this and we're going to change that. That's not,
Well, these are some of the challenges that people have that are in positions of leadership, particularly within the realm of the church. Moral authority is not granted by society. Moral authority is established. The society can choose to follow it or ignore it, but it's not elected into position. It's not legislated into being. It is a standard, and then there are those who follow it and those who reject it. And, you know, because somebody decides they want to follow something that's wrong, and they got, 6,000 people behind them, does not make it right. It makes 6,000 people wrong. So the one that has the courage will stand, having done all. Stand therefore with the whole armor, and contend for the faith. Now, it may cost you your life. Was Rosa Parks right? Or should she have gone with the flow? Well, I don't want to cause no trouble. Let me go sit my little behind in the back of the bus, and I'm tired and work, but that's okay. I don't want to disrupt the system. All right, well, that's fine. Go sit down. So a right thing and a wrong thing is not relative to the number of people who stand for it. So you can rally and get hundreds of people to stand with you in your wrongness. Their collective ire and their collective support does not make right wrong. And the old preachers who's scared to say stuff are useless. They need to retire. Sit down. Go retire somewhere. Relax your mind. Because you got to stand at one point.
You got to stand. And now
you have to give an account. And that's the standard.
You got to stand for something. You stand for nothing.
Right. And laws are made by men. And they're made by men for men, so that men have standards. But because it's a standard for the now, doesn't make it going to be eternal. It doesn't mean it's going to last to the end of the week. It may be
right.
The rules are for right now. Laws change as often as you go shopping. This line is for 12 items or less. That's the rule. Excuse me, sir, you're going to have to step out of line. You have 14 items in your basket.
No, they're going to take them. They're going to take them unless you make a fuss. Say, hey, wait a minute. This is the line. You have 2 items. This person has a whole basket full falling over, and they're in the 12 or less line, and you're behind them. Now, come on.
But see, people like certain rules. But the little micro society sets those rules. Those rules are subject to change right there in the line. You get a couple of customers that get a little bent out of shape. Excuse me, you're not going to stand up in this line with that cart. It says 12. You can't read. Customers will move you.
That's right. Customers will move. And sometimes all you got to do is look at the person.
Right.
Look at that basket.
Oh, some of us are special.
Oh, yeah.
So, but that's how things are legislated for the sake of the convenience of the society, whether they be 3 people in line, 20 people in line, or 20,000 people in a community. People get to decide those things. And if you don't like that, you go to a different store or move. This is the beauty of human beings interacting with one another.
But if you don't let some of that stuff go, you be fighting all the time.
Yeah, some people like to fight. And
I
they
know,
fuss over oh my God. Oh my goodness, child.
Yes, I know a lady like that.
She
loves it, and she tells me how
last
much
night I had a
she
conversation. We talk about the same person.
How people love to fight. I don't like to fight. I fight when it's necessary for me to fight, or when I get so emotionally charged.
That's too draining.
I go off.
It's draining. I don't like contention. I don't mind taking a defensive posture, but I'm not gonna fight just for the sake of fighting,
What are
or
you
for
talking
that
about?
matter, even being right.
Fighting. What are you talking about? Talking or talking about physical?
No, I'm talking about just arguing. No, I'm not designed or built for saying anything physical. I'm that guy that's gonna pick up a baseball bat when you turn around.
Well,
you know, cause I'm not designed to. I'm tiny. I'm a little skinny, narrow. Who are we gonna hit?
that would be the end of you.
Right. Oh, did I hit you in the back of your head with my hand? I don't know. My hand hit you, but it was not the intention of my brain.
What?
I don't know what I was thinking when I hit you with this. I start hitting myself. You know, that'd be ridiculous. I'll be beat to death. Arms pulled out. Horrible.
You know, I have walked between people who were about to fight. I have only because I have had no choice.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was the leader, I had no choice. At least I thought I had no choice to keep the peace. But
defensive posture is different than offense. I'm not gonna go attack nobody.
I'm not gonna attack you.
But I'll defend myself.
But somebody attack me, I'm coming at them.
Right. That's different.
That yeah. Don't. Or you attack my child.
Right.
That's a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming for you. You know, but I don't like that physical.
No.
Physical.
Some people love it. They like contention. They like confrontation. They like.
You know, I was going down Blue Hills Avenue the other day and just riding through the neighborhood. And you know what I said to her? I said to myself, I'm really tired of being around people who are always mad. I'm really tired of this. Everybody's mad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go outside, people are frowning up and mad, and you say the wrong thing, they're coming at you, and you go over here and they're mad, and you're standing in line at the store and they're mad, and you know, you turn this way, you might have turned differently than what they thought you ought to turn. Maybe you knocked them and they're mad. I said, I got to get out of this neighborhood that's so angry. And they don't even know why they're so angry. Everybody's angry. I'm tired of that. I'm so tired. And then when I go to church, I go way to Vernon. I go to, and it's so peaceful. And people talk to each other just like normal, like they're normal, and they smile and they
smile and speak kindly. They say hello. You look around.
Yeah, and
say hi to me. Oh,
say hello. Yeah, and they sit after and they talk to like human beings. They talk to each other, and then I have to go back to a place where everybody seems to be angry.
That's not sustainable, and it's not good for your health. Eventually, that wears you out. People have nervous breakdowns over these kinds of things. About
that anger, that even little children, you know, where you're. I grew up Albany Avenue, Blue Hills Avenue, and I don't remember people being so angry, but anger.
A lot of anger is because I can't have my way. And I appreciate that everybody wants to do what they want to do. But everyone can't. Ain't no more complicated than that. You can't have your way. You think you should. Now that's all relatively all good. But everyone can't have their way. So.
But everybody knows you can't have your way all the time.
And that makes some people angry.
Oh.
I had a conversation with somebody yesterday. And they're talking about a seat at the table. So the comment was, well, once I get a seat at the table, how do I make them do what I want? I said, you can't. A seat at the table, that's what that means. You have an opportunity to express yourself. That's all you can ask for. You're at the table with 25 other people. Why should you be the one that gets their way? All you have is an opportunity to speak up. That's better than the 30,000 sitting outside of the other room. You're in the room at the table. Now, that doesn't mean anyone has to listen to you.
Absolutely.
But you could at least express yourself. So if you express yourself because you are well informed, make a good point that compels others to say, you know what? That person makes a lot of sense. That's the best you can hope for. To just go in there and be emotional. I'm in the room. Y'all didn't ever think I was going to be the one up in the room, but I'm in the room now. And?
Yeah, right, and?
Get this clown out of here. I mean, you blow your chance to be in the room to add anything of significance, because the only reason you want to be in the room is to be argumentative and disruptive. That's not what they do at the table.
Some people, that's all they know, is to argue and be disruptive. They don't know how to do anything else. A smart word here, a smart word there, and that's all they know. To sit down and to talk to someone and come to a compromise of what your will and their will, they have no idea what that is. And we know a lot of people like that, have no idea. It's called win or lose. Not win or lose or compromise. It's just win or lose.
And that there is a horrible state to be in. You can't be in a my way or the highway discussion with someone who feels the same way. Because now there's nothing to, so where can we compromise? If that be the case, then they should be like pistols on the table. Like in the days of Alexander Hamilton, and you just have a duel. Since we're not going to take this.
Hamilton, yeah.
We're not going to take this to the people outside. We're the ones that have a disagreement. If we can't figure this out, then whoever comes out of here alive, winner takes all. We ain't going to set the whole community on fire. One of the two of us is not going to come out. I think that's what should happen. Leaders should be put in a pit. And,
and duel it out.
Duel it out. Now, if you all can't get it together, then one of the two of you is going to be the new king. You figure it out.
Well, I hope the United States doesn't one day have a king.
Well, I don't see the United States having a king anytime soon. That would take.
Well, between the Republicans and Democrats.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I know there's a big fear that Donald Trump will get reelected and become king.
And someone said it have Palin. Someone said yesterday as a running mate. Sarah Palin. I said, "Oh my God, how horrible is that?"
Here's the absurdity of that notion to me, because I have lots of friends. I have friends on both sides of the Trump issue. And here's my thing, and this is becoming pathological. It's like being afraid of the dark. And there's good reason to be afraid of the dark if you are walking around on the ledge of a mountainside in a moonless night. There's good reason to be afraid of the dark, because one wrong step and you die. So I don't mean to emphasize the quote unquote threat that some think may be there. But if the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, is the existential threat that he was, Then how did he get unelected?
Then how did he what? Get unelected?
Mm-hmm. You know, you hear these people talk like he's still in office. But he was in office for
4 years.
one term. It was rocky. And then he wasn't. He was unelected. Yeah, but he didn't want to leave. But he left. Yeah, but his people got mad. And
he has thousands and thousands of people who can get him right back into office. And so the next time there's going to be an election, Donald Trump's people are going to gather up and he's going to become president again.
now, do you think those are the same people that couldn't get him elected before? But see that's my point
It
is
grows. This is a feeling that they're
right.
This number is growing. So they think.
So is that a cause to be afraid? That's emotional. Or is that a cause to actually get out and do something? Which would actually be work. It would require more than sitting around talking about how bad the enemy is.
So if he became president again, then that would mean those who did not want him to be president didn't get out there and work for that.
They didn't work right. Now, if he was unelected, what rationale is there that causes people to think that what, you were lucky?
It was a fluke.
That he was unelected was a fluke.
It was a fluke. Yes.
So if you don't believe in the power of democracy, which is such a stupid argument, you hear people, democracy is under threat. It's absurd. It's absurd. It's absurd.
What's absurd? That we are in a democracy.
The democracy is under threat. It's only under threat because certain people can't have their way. So everyone is saying democracy is under threat, and the only way to protect democracy is to vote for me.
Which is
it's absurd. It's absurd on its. The notion is so absurd, one can hardly have the debate.
There is really not a big bad wolf. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? There's really not a big bad wolf. It's just in your head.
Right.
So we got to sing that song, Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf?
Right. And the same people who clamor about the democracy is under threat, you think they come to a city council meeting? Where real democracy happens. Where real decisions happen. You think they go to a board of education meeting?
No.
Where their children, who are democracy's future, can't read at the third grade. But so, a lot of this is just emotionalism.
And who does it help?
It doesn't help anybody.
Well, it helps the media.
Oh, well, yeah. That, yes. Yeah. It's helping somebody get rich.
Yeah, it is.
All right. So instead of having like the WWF or Maury Povich show or, what's the guy now? He's a judge now. He used to be on.
That used to be what?
He used to be a mayor of a town.
Oh, Jerry Springer.
Yeah, Jerry Springer. Judge Jerry now. You can't make this stuff up. So now we have Politics Live.
Now we have it's the same as Jerry Springer.
Right, it's just right. And these folk are. Meanwhile, China is launching missiles over Taiwan in exercises because they're mad because the Speaker of the House decides she want to she want to fly to Taiwan. It's like a clown show. The whole thing is like a clown show. And there's some very dangerous stuff going on. Meanwhile, they're all out there posturing. It's just sad. It's very sad.
Oh, I'm getting that feeling again, Stan.
Have hope. That's all I can say. Is because because through it all, guess what? We're still here. The planet still turns. And long before there was the United States, there was a planet Earth.
And that, you know.
And there was a God that looked down on the little people and sees fit to order our footsteps every day.
My son said, are we really gonna destroy the world? I said, there will be before the earth goes, man will go. The earth is not going anywhere. We may go someplace.
Absolutely right.
But the earth will still be here. You think the earth is going to allow? You think that? No.
Right. So
they didn't bring it here, and they're not going to take it out.
Right. The hubris of humanity to really think that they matter.
They're just like every living thing, just like the tree is a living thing, just like all the other animals. No, you don't have charge of the earth. You don't have charge of,
Mm-hmm.
I own this. This is mine. And I'm saying that's not yours. You can't own the earth. You're crazy. When you get a little lighter on that, owning property. Now I laugh because I was very serious about that at one time. You own this big thing. You own this. You own that. You own. What do you own? What do you own? You really don't own anything. What do you own? You right now, we say that's yours. You can go over there. You can do that. But that'll all still be here when you're not.
Absolutely.
Everything will be here, and you will not be here. You will be gone.
And this is why the old preachers need to stand up and reclaim the standard. The Bible says the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. What is the rich man? And he says, oh, I shall take my leave. Thou fool. Dost thou not know that tonight thy life is required of thee? I mean, what you own. What you own.
You gotta stop saying what you own.
Right.
What do you own? What do you own? But after you get, I think maybe after you get a few years on you, and you've been living in your own house for a long time, and I own such and you say, this thing is dragging me down. What? This thing I gotta take care of. Every time I turn around, something's happening. I gotta, and I gotta give my life to things. I don't want to give my life to things that could so very easily be taken away, so very easily be torn down, so very easily just disappear. I said, I don't want to give my life to that. I want more than that. But so all of a sudden it becomes not that important.
It really
not that important.
It really isn't. I mean, and people, once you can free yourself of that notion, and it's something that only you can work on. You are owned if you own. The word says, sufficient are the things of today. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow is not promised. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. If you walk by faith and put your hand in his hand, everything you have need of, you will have. I mean, it's like, what are you worrying about? Have you been what are you worried about? What do you have? Whatever you have need of, he who has all things will provide that which you need. But see, that requires faith. And a lot of people don't have faith. They don't have faith. Their faith is more and more in that which can't deliver. And the more they rely on, quote unquote, government and all these other things to deliver for them, not that they're participating in the process, but that they're waiting for someone to come along and deliver to them, the more it is shown to be incapable of delivering anything. Anything.
My son's, he was burnt out. Him and his family, the apartment was burnt out. Him and his family had no home, and the Red Cross helped them. But he said to me, and I said, well, you don't have this, you don't have that. I was talking to him about something. He said, you know what? None of that matters because I lost everything, and I got more than I ever had before. So if I lose this, I'm just going to keep on going because I'll just get it again.
Mm-hmm.
Because he says, I've already lost my apartment, all my kids' clothes, everything. We had nothing. We came out of that building with nothing except my family, and that was the important, my family. And we got more than we ever had before, materialistically.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, I'm not worried about this stuff. I'll leave it tomorrow.
In a heartbeat.
Because I know it could all be replaced.
Yes.
So, and I never thought about it like that until he said, I've already lost everything, all this material stuff, and I got it all back, but I got my family.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in my family is here, and I can't replace them. So, and I started looking at things the way he looked. He did, because I never was burnt out or anything, But he says it's not important. I'll leave it. He's had that kind of, and I guess people who've had that kind of experience could see that and could feel that, and this stuff's not really important.
You can only sleep on one bed at a time.
That's right.
And when you close your eyes and drift off, it doesn't matter what you have. You better hope you wake up in the morning.
That's right. Absolutely. And get up and live your life, because that's all you got. That's all you got, really, is yourself, and just go live.
Yeah.
See what's gonna happen to you tomorrow. Get
Right.
up and live the adventure.
You can ask yourself, what can I contribute to the world around me today? In what way can I be a benefit to someone else? I mean, that really is the best thing that you could actually do. And you sow goodness as best you can. It helps somebody. And it'll come back to you. The more you give.
And it doesn't need to be a lot of stuff. It doesn't need to be things that are, Like yesterday I just went to read somebody a story.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. And it was appreciated. Sit there and listen to a story. I bring my little books and.
What story did you read?
5 Peas in a Pod. We talked about that story before, and I thought that was a good story for her. But many years ago, I used to do that all the time. I used to listen to people. We would be talking like we're talking now, and I said, "All right, what story am I going to tell him?" And they keep talking and talking. I said, "Oh, I got the story." The story fits the people or the situation or something like that, and I would tell stories. And then the next time we met, this is the power of story. The next time I met, they'd tell a story to me. They would tell the story back to me.
Oh, wow.
And wow, it was always amazing. It was always, I said, I want you to go live this story.
Mm.
You're this person. And I said, next week, come back and tell me the story. And it was always so wonderful. I did this one time with student nurses at St. Francis Hospital. They were staying at that hotel on Asylum Street.
Mm-hmm.
Was that? It was a long time ago. And there was this tree. It looked like it had material, something flying on it or something like that. And I told a story. And I destroyed this tape, and I was so sorry that it got destroyed in the machine. This young person told the most beautiful story about that tree and what they saw, and it became beautiful birds, and it was just wonderful. It was just wonderful, and that's what the story actually could do. It enriches you, and then you could turn around and enrich someone else with your version of the story. So, of course, I love stories. So people poo-poo stories. I don't like stories. I said everybody likes stories. There's not a person on earth that doesn't like a story or tell stories.
Everyone likes a good story.
Everybody likes a good story. That's right. Everybody likes a good story. I wish I told more of them. I wish I could went into more places, like convalescent homes and hospitals, and to tell stories. That would be another dream I used to have, and I have done that. I've done that. I could do it on one-on-one is fun, but telling a group stories, telling older people stories that they heard when they were kids, that's a lot of fun. Because they sit there just like they were 5 years old all over again.
Age really is nothing but a number.
That's right. Just like, remember Trish, who came on the show?
I remember, Trish. Yeah.
And she wanted to hear the story of the 5 Chinese brothers. She was, I said, Trish, what story do you want to hear? And she said, I used to love that story, the 5 Chinese brothers. And I said, okay, I used to love that story too. I'm going to get that story, and I'm going to tell you that story. She was so excited about hearing the 5 Chinese brothers again. So that's it. You never lose that. I don't think you ever lose that.
I still have that book.
The 5 Chinese brothers?
I'm looking for the book from Henry H. Houston's elementary school. I have a book that has...
Yes, it wasn't a school book.
Yes, right. It was in a school book, and they had the hair. Yes. The one was stretched outside. He was standing in the ocean. Right. His feet could stretch down to the bottom.
One that swallowed up.
Yeah.
Told the little boy to come back. The little boy wouldn't come back, and the little boy drowned. And so he went on trial. And the line was, he asked the magistrate, "Oh, please, can I go home to say goodbye to my mother?" And they'd send the next brother up who could do something else, stretch his neck,
could do fire or wouldn't burn or something.
It swallowed. One stretched his neck. One they couldn't chop off his head or something. Was that one?
Yeah, I think he had like a neck of steel or something.
Yes. And so they tried 5 times, and so they couldn't kill him. So they let him go home. I loved that story too. I'm
looking for that book. I have to move that book up here because I
used to have it right up, sitting right out.
I'm looking around here for it. My messy.
You think that was in every school book? Because I did. We had that in our school book too.
I remember that from my school. That's funny. Jeez. Yeah, because when you were talking about the old folks, it occurs to me like I'm an old folk now.
The gingerbread man, they love the gingerbread.
Oh, the gingerbread man. Yes, I used to like that. Now I could see myself listening to the 5 Chinese brothers story because I used to like that when I was a kid.
Yes.
So I could listen to that with the same anticipation and eagerness. But that's in essence what we do when we go to the movies. Or we go see a play. Like I went to see Hamilton, and it was good. We were sitting. You see how close the ceiling is to us right now? Well, the ceiling was closer to us. Like we were almost like if you stand up and reach, I think you could probably touch the ceiling at the Bushnell. That's how far at the back of the house we were up. You couldn't see there were human beings on the stage, but you really couldn't
see him that well.
Couldn't see him that well. You realize why they have those little binoculars, so you can see the faces of the people. But they had screens and stuff, so. But you can watch Hamilton on the Disney Channel. It's very, very good.
I love plays.
But the story is really good. I like to
Alexander?
Alexander Hamilton, the stage play, the musical.
Oh, but Hamilton, is it about Alexander
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes, it's about Alexander Hamilton.
He was
It's an excellent story. Because he's like the unsung guy. Nobody knows nothing about Alexander Hamilton.
not exactly a hero.
No.
He was
Quite the cad.
Yes, he was a man. He was mad all the time too.
Yes, he
was. He was mad all the time too. Arguing all the time too.
Yeah.
And who did he have that duel with? Start with a D. He lost that duel, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
He sure did.
His son lost a duel too.
Really?
Yeah. It was it's a good story if you like musicals. I think it's almost
I love musicals.
Not Raymond.
Burr.
Burr.
Yeah.
Burr. I think it was Burr.
Burr.
Yeah.
Burr. Yeah.
Burr. I want to say Raymond Burr from Ironside.
Perry Mason.
Perry Mason. Yeah. Perry Mason. Yeah. No. Raymond Burr was the actor who played Perry Mason and Ironside.
Right.
There we go. It's
Yes.
coming together now. Yeah, the old stories, but it's good. Nothing like a good story. Nothing like a good story.
But see that now they don't have good stories, and that's the terrible thing. I don't think they have good stories on television very much. They don't have stories that last and last and last and last and last.
Well, stories have changed.
Yes.
The dramas have changed. But at the end of the day, they're just stories.
You're not Shakespeare. You won't hear of them 100 years from now.
You don't think? I think Shakespeare will always be around. I think Shakespeare will always be around.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. You know.
So I guess the question is, will Star Wars stories still be around 100 years from now?
Yes, I think so. I think Star Wars will be here.
Mm-hmm.
But what else do I think what else will still be here 100 years from now?
Little Baby?
Who? Who?
I had to do a workshop last Thursday. And Lil Baby was the artist. The concert, there was a concert in Hartford that Wednesday night, and Lil Baby was one of the artists. It's a group.
It's a group?
It's a group, yeah.
And they call themselves Little Baby?
Lil Baby, yeah. I don't know.
I never heard of them.
That's when you know you're old. You walk into a room of young people and you don't even pronounce the name of the group right. They give you that look like, you know.
Where you been?
Not like where you been, like, who is this old dude? That look.
They call you OG?
Mm-mm. What do they call me? They call the Pioneer. Yeah, they call me the Pioneer. Yeah.
Well, I in my neighborhood,
It's funny.
My name is Ma. Hi, Ma. Hi, Ma. Hi.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Hi, Ma. When I first started hearing that, I looked at
Who
him
they talking to?
and I said, huh?
You think like, who they talking to? They can't be talking to me.
But now I say hi. He say, Ma, you need some help. Ma, you got this, blah, 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 blah. And the people who knew me when they were little kids, they could just call me Miss Cleo. But
You just said something that caused me to think for the very, very first time. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. People offering to bring stuff by. I'm thinking it's because they're trying to be nice. Yeah, because people do things like, but it's dawning on me that to many people I'm a senior. Like you take some stuff by the old guy's house, in my mind, but it's like that was the last thing on my mind. You got everything you need? Yeah, I'll be okay. But I'm not even thinking about like.
And that's what you're thinking.
Right. But in my mind, no, I'm fine. But that's not what they're thinking. Well, he's old.
And and there are times when we say, "Oh no, we're fine," and they can see we're not fine.
Mm-hmm.
I could be carrying these packages or doing something, and that I've done my whole adult life, and so I'm still doing it. But they're looking at me and saying, "Ma, you need some help? You want me to take that?" And I said, "Oh no, I'm fine. I'm struggling."
Here, help her.
So finally someone will take it from me and say, "Come on, Ma, let me take this." So they take it for me, and they'll either set it in the hall or they'll carry it up on the landing and leave it there or something like that. They could all be doing things that they shouldn't be doing on that corner. And I could walk around and they said, "Wait a minute, Ma, let me get that door for you." That's how I knew they could that's how I learned they could open my door without a key. Because they ran around. They said, "Oh no, Ma, let me get that." And I said, "Well, no, let me get my key out." They went boom, boom, boom. I said, "How'd you do that?" He said, "I don't know, Ma, the door just opened." I don't know, Ma, the door just opened. So, the landlord fixed the door. he put another door down, so they couldn't do that. But you learn a lot of things.
It was funny. I was listening to the radio this morning. Gary Byron on 1360. Right, I was listening to Gary Byron this morning, and he was interviewing a candidate. He's running for the 4th district representative, state rep. So Gary asked him, he says, "Oh, well," because the guy he's a former Marine apparently. And he said to him that he's telling him what years he served, and he works at Pratt and Whitney. And then he said to him, "Well, guy, you're still pretty young." He says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, I'm 34. Gary laughed. He said, "Yeah, that's still pretty
young.
That's still pretty young." Like, I didn't think it was young, but it clearly is. I laughed because, of course, I have children 34, and it occurs to you at some point that you're getting older. Not like old and you need to sit down and never do nothing again.
It hits you.
But it hits you that you are not 34 anymore.
But, when you get used to it, it's really nice. When you get used to it, because you're older a lot longer than you're young.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how long are you young? You're a teenager, you get your 30s, and, 40, you're still kind of young. 50, you're still there. Then you start getting into your 60s, and, you're realizing you're getting older, and sometimes it's disturbing when you start realizing you can't do what you used to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get up there and you hit your 70s, and you're still trying to do, but then you're realizing, I don't have to do. I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to, I don't have to have an hourglass shape. I don't have to go do that exercise. I don't have to bring up all those packages. I don't have to do that. I could just be me, because I'm not competing anymore. And it's so very nice not to compete, and to find out and to realize who you are. And you look in the mirror, you're not looking for Twiggy, you're not looking for this person, you're looking for you, and you look in the mirror and say, that's who I am. Oh, goodness, I don't like this. Well, so what? You don't like it. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
This is who you are. This is what you look like. So I think it's just a relaxing, to me.
That's quite profound.
It's relaxing, and
yes.
and I don't
liberating.
Yes, and I don't care if you're thin, and I don't care if I'm big, and so then you start looking around at all the people, and you say, "My goodness, there's a lot of big people in this world who are perfectly happy and pretty and handsome, and they don't seem to be bothered." And and you look. I just find it really, really nice, and I enjoy looking at other people now. I enjoy looking at young people. I love to look at young people who like themselves.
Yes,
I'd love to look at that. I'd love to see fathers walking down the street with their children, and carrying their children, or going bike riding with your children, because in my day, fathers did not do that that I ever saw. So it's just enjoying things, just little things that you never enjoyed before, and you don't have to, and I don't have to know the latest dance style. That's I love to dance, so I don't have to know the latest. I can just get up there and dance, and I have done that. Just get up there and dance by myself if I want to do this, So what if I don't know your dance step? In my day, you didn't know the dance step. Hey, you weren't with it, didn't get dates, this didn't happen, that didn't happen. I said, doesn't matter anymore. Those things are past. Those things are past, So it's nice being older.
Absolutely. Well, our time together's come to an end. But we'll be back. We'll do it all once again. Next week. Next Friday, we'll be here. We'll be here Monday. Jonathan will have a special guest. Lightning rod of a guest. Wednesday, Dr. Maya Bone will be here along with Luis Delgado. Pick up our conversation. Things happening here and there. And then, of course, next Friday, we'll be back around with Miss Cleo. It's a morning talk. If you'd like to join us on Morning Talk, you're more than welcome to do so. We have an email, morningtalk@accesstv.org. Now, if you send me your phone number, I can log you in. And that way, we'll make sure that you can call in at any time. So we'll set it up, make sure we can hear you and all that other kind of stuff. So you send me your email, you send me your phone number, and then I'll call you. And that's how we check that and make all that work. All right. Got any plans for the weekend?
Nope. Just stay cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first Sunday, so it's my first time. I'm gonna help the pastor with communion, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, very nice. Very nice indeed. All right. Okay, my friends, we'll see you next time. You all have a fabulous rest of your day. Have a great weekend. Tomorrow is the 6th of August, which means it's the Taste of the Caribbean and Jerk Festival down at the Mortensen Riverfront Plaza. I'll be down there.
Tuesday is voting.
And Tuesday is voting. Don't forget to vote on Tuesday. It's in the primary, so it's a primary election on Tuesday. All right, so you all have a great rest of your weekend. Sister Nunez and Dr. Bowen and Pamela Wright, all the other folks that joined us this morning, and Michael Leibowitz. We'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.